Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bradford Cloud User Group podcast. My name is Shabazz Dar. I'm joined by my fellow Bradford Cloud User Group management team.
Management.
Hi, guys. You all right?
Yeah, all good.
How
are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Good. So we are going to be joined today by two very special guests. So I would like to introduce Richard Hooper, aka Pixel Robots.
Hey, and the second
and Gregor Suttie. Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you. This is the first ever kind of podcast that we're doing for our channel, and we need some big names for our ribbon cutting. So we couldn't get any, unfortunately. So we had to unfortunately deal with you two. So
You couldn't get any good people.
No, the absolute perfect guys to come on for a yeah. Really appreciate both of you coming on, taking out precious time.
No problem, anytime.
Ideal role models to come on.
How are you both keeping?
Yeah, not too bad. Tired. It's been a long week. Lots of snow, which could do one. But apart from that, it's all good for me.
Yeah, same. Just mega busy at work, but it's good stuff. So, all good.
Always got time for the community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The tea's always on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best spirit.
Yeah, job, guys.
So, I've seen you guys have been doing a series about AKS recently. What made you guys start that?
Well, where I work, I love AKS. I've been using it for the last couple of years and Gregor needs to learn AKS. So we thought, instead of me just teaching him one-on-one, let's teach him one-on-one, but record it, and then everyone else can learn from it. So that's sort of the idea behind it. Hopefully it's working well. Maybe you guys have seen a couple of the episodes and you could give some good feedback. But yeah, that's pretty much the reason behind it.
Yeah, even the guys in work, we were doing an internal kind of AKS thing, and those guys going to have to support the environment. So just to try and help everyone with AKS, every 2 out of 3 customers that we see at the minute all want to do AKS. Right. So I kind of need to get up to speed with the continuous improvement guys. They also need to get up to speed with. So I thought, why not? Let's just get Richard to teach me, and we'll record it, and hopefully people will find it useful. We're just doing it kind of ad lib. Well, not really got any set agenda right so far, and we're just going to try and teach everyone. And I get to ask stupid questions, which is brilliant.
It's part of the learning process, though, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm trying to think.
Motto.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what questions might people have when we talk about something that like people just assume you know. Like people talk about nodes and pods, and I'm like, right, well, what are they? It's just so that everyone can kind of figure that stuff out. So that's the idea.
Now you can actually tell us what they are.
No, I can't. So I don't care. Not yet. I need to watch the videos back. I'm only kidding. Yep. So that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Excellent.
How long would it realistically, take for someone to actually learn AKS, become an expert?
Well, I'm not an expert. It's a continuous improvement thing. So to get a basic understanding of it, Microsoft have a couple of workshops you can do in a few hours, and it gets you the basics of it. They have a path where you can learn Kubernetes within 50 days by following some things. You can actually do that quicker if you spend more time. But to be an expert at it, forever.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to learn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next? Have you got anything planned after the AKS series, or is that just going to go on for as long as possible?
Personally, I think that'll go on for a while, like the rest of the year, maybe longer. I think we'll just keep doing new stuff. Will keep coming out. You know what Azure's like, AKS as well, changes all the time. Yeah, we'll probably just do our own things in between that, but that'll keep us busy every week for a while.
Yeah, and then maybe hopefully we'll find another subject in Azure that we're like using a lot of at work and need to teach people about, and then we'll start using that, and maybe have 2 series on the go if we can find the time. Maybe not, we'll see.
I've been doing a lot of customers at the minute with issues in production, and I've been doing a lot of debugging and looking at the logs and trying to figure out what's going on, especially in app services. And in the last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of really cool tools that I didn't know anything about. And it's probably might be good to do a series on that, just to say if you've got a problem in production in an app service, here's some top tips on how to go about finding it, because there's a lot of information, but it's kind of all over the place in Azure. It's not in one place. You need to start digging into things. But there are a lot of cool tools that teach you and show you what's wrong with your application, and you don't have to go and dig for that stuff too deeply. So yeah, some AI in the background kind of keeps an eye on your app services. So I think that might be useful.
You know, the current series, I have to admit, I haven't had a chance to look at it just yet. So what I will be is on my list. So I signed up to do the, cloudskills.io, the 46 projects in 10 weeks, which looks really interesting because it's all new to me. I don't do any of the DevOps stuff. Right. So is that the kind of approach you're taking with this? Is there a lot of hands-on labs on practice stuff that you guys are doing with your AKS series?
Not yet. I was thinking about this last night, actually, from looking at the series. So they're doing hands-on labs, and they're taking you from getting started with GitHub. I'm looking at it right now, actually. So the first couple of projects are getting started with GitHub, setting up your first Azure environment, setting up your first AWS environment, and setting up basically the basics. So I quite like that, but the hands-on labs are going to be quite good. So I think myself and Richard should probably put something together. We actually did an internal hackathon a couple of weeks ago where Richard basically broke some pods deliberately and kind of changed a bit of config, and all the continuous improvement guys and myself and a couple of other people were trying to fix it, and that was really interesting. So you might do something like that.
It's almost like an Azure game of imposter. What's it called?
Among Us.
Among Us, where
Among Us.
Richard's the imposter hacking AKS, and you guys are really trying to fix it.
I think it was really useful because most of the people got it sorted and kind of see how you troubleshoot. Because you will get customers with issues in production in AKS, and if you can teach these guys the skills to kind of debug it and fix it, then all the better.
So that's a really interesting type of content. Is that? So again, most of us are kind of started at the sort of blog content and creating that, and we've now see a lot more kind of video content. Do you think that's kind of the next step now? Those sort of hackathon type of content where actually, why don't you just record some of that? So, you've got one person who is like Richard, maybe more of an expert in AKS than the rest of the audience. And there's literally, now, there's four of us who don't know as much about AKS, and we're trying to fix it, and you record that sort of stuff. That could be the next sort of evolution in content, couldn't it?
Absolutely. So I actually thought the next evolution in content was creating projects. A bit like what the Cloud Skills thing is. I think it would be good to got a bit of a bugbear with all the tools. All the short videos are like clips on how to use A and B and C, but it doesn't show you how to put a full project together. They cover things like costs and all the kind of considerations. You think, like, why would I choose application gateway over front door? There might be a good reason for that. But if you're myself and Richard were building something, he could build it, and I could go, well, why are you choosing that over that? So I think that, along with what you've just suggested, are really good ideas. I really like the idea.
It's that sort of student and teacher sort of mentality almost, that you've got two people, and one of them is doing the sort of teacher role and almost but people can watch it, and the sort of questions that the student asks will be the sort of questions that they would ask, and that's quite an interesting piece of content actually.
Yeah, no, I agree. You just need to try and keep it basic as well. So ask all the stupid questions that people might want to know about.
I mean,
there is no stupid question. No question's a valid question. Just put out there. Don't feel stupid. Yeah.
I mean, and how do you guys feel about creating video content compared to blog content? I've been struggling personally recently with, I've got 2 blogs now compared to some people who tweeted me a couple of days ago. It's nothing, but I've got like 2 blogs, and I keep on writing a line here or there, and I just can't find the motivation. What's your own opinions on those sort of contents, and how do you feel about the two? Can you get motivated for blogs, or is it just video content?
Well, I haven't blogged for a little while now, at least a couple of months, so that sort of explains that. But I've been doing videos instead. Maybe I should do some short blog posts pointing to the videos to help drive the traffic to the videos. But I'm finding videos are a lot easier to make, a lot more fun to make, and you can work with someone like yourself or with Gregor, and it's just more fun. It's more entertaining for the people, I think, as well. But then there is still people who want to read, and so we need to keep thinking about them, but also do the video to accompany the blog post maybe.
Yeah, I've kind of similar issues. I started blogging for the main reason is I've got the world's worst memory. So I used to write a blog post to just remember that I've fixed something, and maybe someone else behind me will come along at some point and have the same issue, and then they'll find that blog post and go, actually, I've even done that with myself. I've ended up on the blog and went, right, okay, I don't remember writing that, but there's a fix. So I think it is actually, I think it's a good thing to keep blogging. But personally, I've really struggled. I've wrote 3 blog posts in the last 6 months. I just don't have the motivation to blog. I find video content much easier, much more fun, just like Richard was saying. I quite like the bouncing off somebody idea. But I do really need to start blogging again. I've done a lot of cool stuff in work, and I just don't have the time at the minute. I know it sounds like a lame excuse, but I do need to get my finger out and start blogging again, because I think it's important to keep blogging. If you haven't got a blog, I would highly recommend you do.
Yeah, actually, good point there, Gregor, about a blog. Do you think every techie should set up a blog?
It's down to personal preference. I would say yes. Yeah, because you actually get a lot out of a blog. It's hard to describe, but when you write things down, I always was taught by my previous manager, help the person coming behind you. So if you've done something and you've fixed an issue, or you've got a bit of experience in a tool, someone coming along behind you might need that bit of help. You know what it's like yourself? You spend all day Googling stuff and you think, oh, there's the answer there. Brilliant, that's amazing. If you can give something back to people, that's what it's all about.
It's a good way to document everything as well that you're doing. So like, you know, at work in an IT pro world, you want to document your server setups and everything. If you blog about it and how you did it, that's your documentation sorted. You know, you just got to sanitize a few bits for the public, but it all makes sense still.
So I used to find, the reason I started personally doing it is it was almost like a diary. So I used to see, you know, there's loads of technical content about how-to guides and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what, maybe my experience of what I've done might be somehow that's how I can contribute, because so like I said, there were loads of guides. Like, well, they've done it already, and there's nothing I can say that's going to be different from that, because it's literally a guide on how you do it. What's different about me is my experiences, the way I handled an issue that I might have had, or so that's why I started blogging. It's more like I use it as a diary more than more than anything.
It's a good one.
Your why you do something is more important, I think, than the actual how to do stuff. So well that's awesome.
So, you know, you do a lot of work in the community, but one thing that's really blown up in the last couple of years is this Christmas initiative, the Advent calendar. So how did that come about, and what are your plans for this year? Or is it too early to tell?
I'll let Richard explain that one.
So Gregor being the ideas man, he had the idea of he wants to do something at Christmas, because, you know, end of the year, everything's happened during the throughout the year, and Christmas, December is always empty. Not many people were doing stuff, and this was before COVID, obviously. So conferences were all happening early in the summer, and nothing was happening at Christmas. So he said to me, "I've got this idea. What do you think?" I said, "It's an amazing idea. Let's go for it." So that was born the Azure Advent Calendar, and that was like 2 years or so ago. I can't remember exactly. It's a lifetime ago with COVID. So we started doing that. It's just a countdown to Christmas. And then this year, we sort of decided Christmas is a bit non-diverse. It's just for usually Christians. Not everyone around the world knows what Advent is. So we renamed it the Festive Tech Calendar, because December is a festive period. Trying to, you know, be more diverse, reach more people, a wider audience. And instead of just up to the 25th, to Christmas Day, we've actually done it for the whole of December, which was a lot of work. But it was definitely worth it.
I think just to add to that, the main idea was you're starting a blog, so it was to try and help people get a wee bit of spotlight on them. So try and get new people to create some content, rather than you get the seasonal speakers, as I call them, where they're always doing user group talks and all that, and you still get these
same
people,
talk every user group.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad thing. It sounds like we're complaining, it's not, but it'd be good to try and coerce people into doing content. So we put the idea out, and 1 or 2 people had never done anything like that before, and I'm looking at someone right now. Shabazz got my spell, he says. So Shabazz is like, yeah, I'll do it. He's like, I've never done anything like that before. And now look at him, he's got a blog, a YouTube video, he's got a podcast, he's got a user group.
It's my first ever sort of piece of video content, and like you said, I've got my channel now and doing videos every week. So it gave me my start, definitely. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
That was the reason we set it up, just to try and get people doing content. And I had a few people saying I've never done a video in my life, and I'm like, well, I can set you up and give you a start. So.
And it's again, we're very similar, I think, in the way we're thinking about this user group. So just as you guys were saying, obviously I've been speaking to Imran quite a bit on Twitter, and I didn't know Saj before Imran introduced me to him, but essentially he said came up to him on Twitter and just said, you know, me and Saj wanted to start this user group. You know, do you want to help us and we'll do it together? And our aim is exactly what you're saying, and it's around, you know, people who are in the community but don't have that spotlight on them. So we've made it one of our aims to try and get in each user group at least one new speaker. So again, pushing Saj the way we are, he's actually going to be our new speaker in February's user group.
Oh, cool. Nice.
I mean, so we'll have something to look forward to, but we're going to try and make sure we've got a seasoned speaker at the same time, because then that'll put a bit of we feel it'll put less pressure on that new speaker. So that we're very similar, and again, we once we're in person as well. IT is quite big in Bradford, but it's just, again, I just don't think people have that exposure to it the way they might do in Leeds or Manchester, which are kind of, you know, more of a central hub. So we're hoping to hit, you know, people in Bradford who work in IT but just don't have that community exposure. Really, that's kind of our aim.
I think it was you guys who inspired. It's people like yourself, Gregor and Richard. I've been on Twitter for a while, but I wasn't tweeting and stuff like that. It was mainly just blog articles. And then as soon as I started getting a bit more involved, I found you guys. I started following you guys, and then I found Shabazz and Microsoft, and just from there, I just thought, you know what, this is a great idea. And then when I started Azure Crazy, I actually approached Gregor first.
I remember that.
Yeah, I said, I'm thinking of setting up Azure Crazy. Is it going to be a flop? And he said, no, mate, go for it. It's going to be a really good idea. And you're obviously two well-deserved MVPs. How did that journey of you becoming MVP start? For those people that want to know what an MVP is, what is an MVP? What do you guys do? How does one become an MVP? Is there some information you can give us around that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. It's a good question. I can't really remember off the top of my head. I just started getting into Azure to begin with, and then on Twitter again. Everyone I do is on Twitter, as you know. The Glasgow Azure user group got created, and I just went along to it, and I kind of sat in the back like you do when you don't know anyone, and sat there quietly. And then I went back. I started asking questions because I was just really getting into Azure. And then I spoke to Sarah, and she asked me if I could start helping out, and it kind of snowballed from there. And then I kept blogging. I was blogging about all the exams, so I was writing study guides, and that kind of helped. And people were tweeting me going, "That was really helpful." So that's kind of where I started. I don't know about you, Richard. How did you get started?
So when I was a bit younger, not too much younger, I used to do a lot of Hyper-V before Azure, and there's an MVP called Aidan Finn. I don't know if you've heard of him, but I used to read all his books and read his blogs, and because he was the Hyper-V king in my eyes. And then one day on his website, I noticed he had this little blue MVP logo, and I thought, oh, what's that? So I started Googling it and thought, oh, wow, that's amazing. He's done all this amazing work, written books and all this, and he's been awarded by Microsoft. That's cool. Maybe one day I might be lucky enough to be in his shoes. I don't know. So that sort of gave me the inspiration to give back to the community, because beforehand, like, I was just working in Oxford in a job where sometimes I was working 17 days straight, and I just didn't have much free time at all, and like 12-hour days. So I was learning a hell of a lot of stuff, but I had nowhere to give it out. And then I moved up to Newcastle and got a new job and a lot more free time. So what I started doing is built my blog and started giving back to the community. And then I was working with Azure a bit on and off in the background as well. And then these new rule-based exams came out, like Gregor said. So I created some study guides. Some of those had over 30,000 views. I think some of them are maybe over 40,000 now.
Impressive.
And because of those, they were getting shared with Microsoft internal staff and everything. So my name, Pixel Robots, just got out there. And then from there, some other MVPs started noticing me. And then one of them nominated me. So Kenny Lowe is Azure Stack MVP. Yeah. So he nominated me. I went to a few conferences, met up with some of them. I went to this Dublin user group called Cloud Camp back in 2018, which Aidan Finn was running. I was like the first one to buy a ticket for it and everything, so I got invited to this sort of after party where I was speaking with all these MVPs and speakers, met the guys who do the Windows Central, I think, podcast, so Mary Jo Foley and all of that. So I met them, and then started chatting to all these MVPs, and they were thanking me for my study guides and that, and then other ones started nominating me, and from there, you know, it just spiraled out, and then I got accepted. So that's it. Just basically just give back to the community, and, you know, don't aim for the MVP award, but just give back, and then you'll get noticed by MVPs, and then they'll nominate you.
So I've known you both for a while now. I didn't know those two stories. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Most importantly, have fun while you do it. Don't do it
Amen.
for the award. Do it because you enjoy doing it and you want to give back.
That's the whole point of it, to be honest. You're not doing it for an award, you're doing it to enjoy it.
Exactly.
One thing that I've noticed that I've really enjoyed the podcast, see, interviewing people you don't know. Like, I've seen like some people on Twitter, and I thought that person looks really interesting. We should speak to them. The stuff they tell you, the stories they've got. I mean, we got Michael Ryan on, he works in Ireland, and he's like a EMEA manager for Azure. I can't remember his exact title, but the stories he was telling us about Azure and working in the data centers and all that was unbelievable. So you'll find that when you interview people on the podcast, they'll tell you brilliant stories, and then you can just go from there. So
if you haven't listened to that podcast, it's on the Cloud Family website, so cloudfamily.info. I think it's podcast number 3 or 4, so go back and have a listen. We've got quite a few now.
Nice book. Yeah.
So obviously you guys are very well known within the IT community, Microsoft MVPs. So people know you from that aspect and they know you professionally. But outside IT, you know, when you're not creating content or working, what is it you both like to do? You know, I know, Gregor, you're a keen gamer.
Yeah, well, I was for a while, and then I gave my Xbox away. I used to play a previous job. I used to play my Xbox till like 4 in the morning, and then crawl into work, like literally crawl into work. I had to stop that because I was playing the guys in Liverpool, and then they would sign off, and then people from Canada would join, and I would like, I'll just play with these guys. So yeah, I actually gave my Xbox away to stop that. Just play golf. I play golf at the weekend. That's it. That's pretty much me. Yeah.
So for me,
we about fishing something.
Fishing.
Nice.
Yeah, so for me, it's because I live up in Newcastle, Northumberland countryside is amazing. We've got beaches nearby and everything. So I like to sort of unwind and just switch off all devices, go for a nice walk along the coast or out in the countryside, and just switch off from technology altogether, and just clears my head, refreshes myself, gets rid of all drain and everything. So that's what I like to do. Otherwise, either reading a book or playing with my cats, as you can see the cat tree over there. You know, that's it really. Oh, and DIY, because I just bought, like, just before the first lockdown, I bought a new house, so I've been doing lots of DIY, just starting with, got to the point where I can start painting, so I've been starting the painting, but now I need to get some more paint, but we're in lockdown, so is it essential? I don't know, maybe you could tell me so I can go get some paint. But yeah, that's it really.
One thing I'd like to say is I'm really bad at taking downtime. I kind of work late every night, so one thing I would recommend is definitely have something that takes you away from your computer. I need to get better at that. I'm really bad at sitting in front of my laptop every day till you're on time. So definitely have something that takes you away from it.
You were on a bit of a roll, Gregor, recently, weren't you, when you were doing all your certifications? Is it December?
Yeah.
There was a lot of people were asking you what's the secret. And I asked you, what do you eat for breakfast? You said, I don't have breakfast.
No, I don't eat breakfast. So I'm really good at putting 2 hours aside at night when I'm studying for an exam. So I will, like, from 7 till 9, I will shut everyone off and just batter through. I use WizLabs quite a lot for the exam. So they've got a course, so I go through all the course tutorials. I usually do hands-on, so if the guy's building something, I'll build the same. And then I'll do practice tests. The main reason I use the exams is just to fill the gaps. So, like, I've got customers ask me about data warehousing. So I know a lot about SQL, a lot about Data Factory. But if I'm going to do the DP200 exam, for example, that fills in the gaps for me. It's not about getting a badge or a certificate or anything like that. It's just about, I kind of like to know. I don't like going on a call when a customer asks me something that I don't have any idea about. So even if you do the fundamentals exam, you've got an idea of what we're talking about, and you can say, right, I'm not sure about that. I'll go and find out. So this year I've got the DP300 exam, and then I'm going to do the AI, and then I don't really know anything about Power Platform, so I need to get up to speed with that. So I'm going to do the fundamentals on that. That's the plan. It's just to try and fill in the gaps. It's not anything else. What I tend to do is if I start an exam, so let's say I'm going to learn Power Platform fundamentals. If I started today, I would probably book the exam for a month from today. That kind of puts a wee bit of pressure on you to get it done, you know what I mean? Rather than, I'll just go and watch Netflix, or I'll just go and watch the telly. I'll switch the Xbox on. I don't do that because I'm like, I've got an exam that I need, and I never move the date, so I kind of put a wee bit of pressure on myself to study for it.
I've done about 5, but I agree with you, Gregor. I'm exactly the same. If I cram and I sit here on a particular day, I'm all right. If I leave gaps between my study, I completely forget everything I've learned.
Yeah,
and that's a perfect blog post there.
Yeah,
how you studied, what you studied, and how you found the exams.
Yeah, good point.
So, top tip: if you want a lot of people to fight your blog, study guides are excellent resources for that.
The idea that you mentioned earlier about creating a community content that's based around actually physically doing something like you're doing the AKS, and then building on that where you've got people actually following along as you're doing it live session might be a good way to go. Because for me personally, I've learned a lot more from that than just watching tutorials.
I just love the fact that you're doing that. You should start a blog about your studies, the way you study. How do you study? Because somebody might find that interesting.
So no, whilst we're talking about content in the community, so if somebody wants to start getting involved in the community, like you do this as your family thing, so what's all that about? And because for myself, I've seen it several times. I see people tweet about it, but unfortunately, I don't know too much about it or how to get involved in it. Or if somebody wants to get involved in, the cloud community, but they don't know where to start, what would your advice be to them? The
reason why we started that is lots of people were doing great content. And you know what it's like on Twitter. You'll see a tweet and you think that's brilliant, and you forget about it, and you'll think, right, how do I find that tweet again? So somebody might do a blog series, and then you think, crap, where is that? So I thought we should try and find somewhere to put all this content for people like you guys, like all your YouTube channels, your blog posts, the study guides, in one place that people can find. Like study guides, where can I go for study guides? We'll go to Cloud Family and look at the study guides. Or we'll go to the YouTube channel and see who's got YouTube channels or blogs. So that was the kind of quick answer to that. And we thought we'd put it all on GitHub, so it was open source, so that if you want to add your blog or you want to add your podcast, feel free, just do a pull request. We'll add it in.
Yeah, if you go to the website cloudfamily.info, you can actually fork the project and then edit it as much as you want, do a pull request, so you can put your blog post in there, your YouTube channels. You can join the Cloud Family by putting your picture there and a link to your Twitter, and then people can start finding you and following you and finding your content and everything, and then you can start sharing stuff. Use the hashtag Cloud Family as well on Twitter, helps bring the content and the community together. I remember when I first started in IT, I built my first computer when I was 11 without Google and everything, and the amount of motherboards and graphics cards I broke was unreal. Glitches and everything. So we've all been there. You just got now we've got the internet. Do the simple blog post and help people out so they don't destroy motherboards and stuff.
Can you recall? Actually, you probably won't forget this, Gregor. But you know when Microsoft Azure tweeted about you?
Oh yeah. That was quite bizarre.
Yeah, it went viral. What was your feeling? Because you didn't come online for about maybe, I don't know, about an hour until you realised what's going on here.
Yeah, my phone was going mental. I don't know what was going on, and I was like, what's going on here? And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, I don't know how that came about, to be honest. I think from the very first time I started Azure, I tweeted something like, starting on Azure, this will be cool. And Microsoft must have saw it and tweeted it, I think. And then 3 years later, I became a cloud architect, and they kind of did that whole tweet thing about my whole journey, which was really quite nice. I must admit, that made my day. That was very cool. I was like, never seen that before, so that was cool. So another good reason to blog was when I first started blogging. One of the cloud advocates in the UK must have just seen me online, and because I'm always on Twitter, we all know I tweet too much. he tweeted me directly and said, "Would you like to come down to London and meet Scott Guthrie, who's like the top guy in Azure now?" And I was like, "What? Are you kidding?" He's like, "No, you can come down and it's like an Ask Me Anything session. So he'll be sitting at a table and like 10 people will be there and you can ask him anything." Wow. So that came from blogging, Saj. So, you do get opportunities from blogging, believe it or not, and being on social media.
Can you guys recall your first ever public speaking event and and how you felt at the time? You can. Go on then, Gregor.
We had I think it was Tech Week at JP Morgan, and I'd never spoken in my life. But I was starting to blog around about then and just thought, I'm going to put myself out there just for the heck of it. But even I was doing a workshop today, I absolutely hate doing them. I absolutely dread it. And what I didn't know, it was recorded. And I actually watched it back, which is the worst thing you could ever do. Don't ever watch your videos. Honestly, I had no idea how many times I said, and I still do it today. So I did that in front of 35 people, and then it was recorded, which I didn't know, and it went out to, there's 280,000 people at the company. So a lot, not everybody watched it, but a lot of people watched it. So yeah, I was petrified of that. I was like literally shaking with the clicker. I had the clicker in my hand and I was literally shaking. I probably just rambled about anything and wasn't even clicking the buttons and stuff. It was petrifying. And even today when I did a workshop this morning, and I'm pacing up and down 5 minutes before I start. It's just like, I really don't like doing them, but you just need to get over that hurdle. So. How
about you, Richard? What was your first memory of presenting?
My first sort of user groupy kind of one was I was hosting the Northeast Azure user group. So I sort of run that, lined up a speaker. It gets to the time, he's not turning up. 10 past, still not turning up. I think, oh my God, what am I going to do? So and then I just sort of create a session on the go about Azure security. Wow. Luckily, I've been doing a bit of that in my job. So I just sort of showed some of the bits I've been doing and why I've been doing it and everything. So I managed to do that. But luckily, there was only like 10 or so people in the room, so it wasn't too bad. And then, but my first my own sort of user group session was the beginning of this year for the Northern Azure user group, so the Manchester one. And that was all about AKS and best practices. And I find it was a bit nervous before. I probably should have done a bit more prep. I sort of winged it because that's how I like to do things. But luckily, because I know the subject quite well, I can just talk about it without having to worry. And I didn't put my camera on because I was so nervous I forgot to put it on. So that helped. But yeah, it's just as long as you know the sort of the area inside out, I think it's not too bad. If I was doing something like Gregor today is doing one about GitHub Actions, I'd need to do so much prep and then I'll be pacing and worried and everything. But if I'm just talking like now, it's fine, it's easy. When I was younger, I did drama at school, so that's probably helped as well. So, I did a few plays and stuff. So being up in front of a big, this is going back many years, like 15 years ago.
I never do that. I never do that. No, he's getting rubbed with that for the rest of his life.
Got my drama GCSE.
Don't ever wing a talk. Don't ever do that. It doesn't work. Yeah, don't. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, only if you know it inside out. If you don't know it inside out, then don't. I was quite lucky because what I was talking about, I built like nearly 2,000 AKS clusters within the weeks beforehand. So what I was doing, I created whole scripts and everything. So I knew exactly what I was going to talk about and why and everything. So it wasn't too bad. Me and Gregor did one quick run through the day before, and that's about it, really.
Another quick top tip is if you create slides in PowerPoint, you can upload them to office.com. And what you can do is you can record it. It's got an AI thing. So it's like what's the word I'm looking for, Richard? It's like a AI presenter. So you present, you do your slides, and it records you. And basically, if you're doing or it'll say stop using filler words. Wow. It also works out how quickly you speak. So when I get nervous, I speak even faster than I do now. So it gives you words per minute. So it gives you all this kind of feedback on as you're talking, and you're only talking to the computer. You're not talking to anyone, and it pops up and says like you're using filler words or don't swear. You're speaking to. The other thing is it will tell you if you're reading the slide. So a lot of people, when they get nervous, just read the slide. I still do that, and it doesn't sound natural.
I think it's coming to Office 365 as well. So on your local machine, if you've got Office 365, it's coming to that soon. It might already actually be out. But yeah.
Yeah, you just upload it to office.com. I think you go to slideshow, and it's like review presenter or something like that, and it's like a wee coach thing that sits in the background. It's really, really good. I highly recommend that.
So what community events do you guys have coming up then? I know obviously you've got your UK series. Have you got any presenting gigs coming up? I know the Scottish Summit's coming up soon. Richard and Gregor, do you have anything coming up? Any sort of presentations that you're doing?
I'm trying to stay away from them, to be honest. That sounds terrible, but I've rammed at work. I don't really want to give myself. I stress when I've got a talk to give. Like Scottish Summits, I got that done as quickly as I could, so it's out of the way. So I don't have anything. Don't know about you, Richard, but
nothing majorly planned. We've got a few things in the burner behind the scenes that we can't really talk about yet, and we're helping out with some things. So that's coming up. I think maybe April-ish time. I can't remember exactly the days. But yeah, just sort of bits and pieces throughout the year. We'll just sort of see how it goes.
There you are, building the suspense again. It's like a skill you've got, man. Giving us a bit of a teaser, like, I want to know more now.
What you got to do, Shabazz, is get yourself on a roller coaster and then learn about suspense on a roller coaster.
You can't help yourself, can you? Cannot help yourself.
That's great.
It's funny you mentioned that because I heard this rumor, so you're gonna have to tell us some more about this one.
Richard, you can tell us one.
So
all I will say is you couldn't hear me screaming because Shabazz screams louder than I do. Which is perfect.
Oh dear.
So when was it? It was 2018, I think it was. Was at Ignite, which was awesome in Orlando. Shabazz was out there with his family. I was out there with my missus, and Gregor was out there enjoying life on his own. And on the Thursday night, I think Microsoft was throwing a massive at Orlando Studios, so they rented out the whole park, both sides as well. And Shabazz was lucky enough to get some sort of weird pass, VIP pass, and he got there early before us and everything. We all had to take a taxi, and it was so busy. We got there quite late. We started queuing up for the new Hagrid's ride, and Shabazz was just coming off the Hogwarts Express, and we grabbed him, pulled him into the queue, queued up this ride, and not knowing that Shabazz is a bit scared of roller coasters. So we're on this roller coaster. I don't know if you've seen the roller coaster. You're basically in Hagrid's motorbike. I think Shabazz, were you on the bike or were you?
No, I was on the bike.
He was on the bike.
He was in the sidecar. So Shabazz was in the sidecar. Yeah.
It was just.
So he's sitting like this. He's sitting like this, like screaming, and I'm screaming, but he can't see me screaming or hear me because he was screaming louder. But it was hilarious.
You're so exposed on that ride. A normal roller coaster is bad enough, but you're so exposed on that ride.
It's just a lap bar, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
It's quite scary, I must admit.
That is my go-to position for rides.
Screaming like a little girl. Oh, it's amazing. I don't even think I touched the handlebars once, really.
No, he was like, I'm holding on like that for dear life. I literally had like white knuckles. It's awesome, but it was quite scary.
It's so good. The animatronic at the end wasn't the best though. Shabazz probably didn't even see a single animatronic on the ride.
I don't think I did either.
Oh, blur to me is that ride.
Definitely a good ride. So yeah, if you ever go to a theme park with Shabazz, make him go on the roller coasters. He loves it.
A lot of the time, I only go on to save face. If I'm going to go on, I am going to crouch in the fetal position and scream. That's a consequence of taking me on a ride with you.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it.
Thank you guys very much for agreeing to come on. It's been great. I've had such a laugh. This is obviously our first stint at this video podcast business. So thank you very much, Gregor, Richard. Really appreciate you taking the time out.
No problem.
We have got obviously our first user group virtual session coming up on the 25th of February, where we're going to have Baz Van Cam, is it? Yeah, Baz Van Cam and Neil McLaughlin, is it? I pronounced that right?
Yeah.
I hope. So they're going to be doing about Nerdio and WVD. They're going to do as a demo, which is great. Got this new guy on the scene, hot new guy on the scene called Saj. Is a Bradford Cloud User Group's own Sajid is going to be presenting for the first time, and again that's huge for us, getting a new presenter on there. and giving them that platform. I'll give you a bit of an insight into March. We're gonna be promoting women in tech.
Suspense.
So we've got suspense. I'm not good at it.
It's all gone, isn't it? It's all gone.
No.
Right, that's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Women in tech.
So, are you going to have women speakers or men speakers? I hope it's the first one.
It is. The podcast is going to have an all-female speaker guest, and also we've got two amazing speakers. Again, one of them's a kind of a more of a seasoned speaker, and the other speaker she's spoken at a few events, not for a while, and she's getting back into it. So again, that they are well known within the community, and we're just really looking forward to it. And just in general, the user group stuff it's been real fun to do. I know you guys are enjoying it as well. The guy in Ransage.
It's really good fun. Thank you guys for coming.
That's the part of it. As long as you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
that's good.
Thank you.
Good to hear.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
It's all about the fun.
Yeah. So thank you to everybody who's going to be watching. So from the Bradford Cloud user group, thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you.
Bye.